Is Sebek racist? Only a fun question, do not take seriously. Silver says outright that Sebek can be prejudiced at times, and Lilia says Sebek is the picture of his grandfather, from the way he talks to the way he thinks. We do not know how literally he means this comment until later in Book 7 when we meet Baul Zigvolt and realize that their speech patterns have a lot in common. While maybe difficult to put across in the English language adaptation of the game, Sebek can speak very old-fashioned. He will occasionally say this Sebek in reference to himself, which Baul also does, and they are also both canonically quite loud, possibly another trait that Sebek adopted from Baul. Sebek will also infamously refer to others using the Kasama form of you, which Baul also uses with everyone except his superiors. Also like Baul, Sebek will switch to the extremely old-fashioned and formal Kiden to refer to people who have impressed him. Sebek's battle cry of "I'll swallow you whole" might also come from Baul. And another thing Baul did in Book 7 is refer to Sebek as human rather than by his name until Sebek earned his respect, which we have also seen happen between Sebek and Azul. Sebek refers to Zero as a ghost and then a dog, eventually settling on his name, while he refers to Jack Skellington as Bones and to Grim as Dire Beast, which Baul also does. Are they not just calling out humans, but referring to everyone by what they are rather than who they are? Does he yell human more than dog, ghost, etc., because humans are the species we have seen him interact with the most? The novel's confirmed mermaids, beast people, etc., are all referred to as human in Twist, not yet confirmed by the game but not yet disproved. There is a significant moment where he shifts to calling both Grim and the Prefect by their names in Book 7, which the Prefect even has the option of acknowledging aloud. In Harveston, Sebek refuses to use an honorific with Ephel's grandmother Maria until she proves herself worthy of his respect. It is a great subplot that walks us step by step through Sebek's approach to those around him, going from rude to formal to friendly. Silver calls Sebek out on his inappropriate use of Kasama, while both Riddle and Silver scold him for referring to people as humans. Whereas Ephel's rude speech patterns come from how he doesn't know any better, Sebek is consciously and intentionally speaking down to others until they prove themselves worthy. Is this something he learned from Baul? Sebek says that Baul provided him with an enriching education, but what exactly did that education entail? Lilia expresses frustration with Sebek's inability to adapt to society, but canonically Sebek has only been outside of Briar Valley for 6 months, while he's been emulating his grandfather for 16 years. Jamil has a line of, "When admiration goes too far, the consequences can be dire." He was speaking about Malleus at the time, but might it also apply to Sebek's devoted imitation of his beloved grandfather? And we can go even deeper if we want, though this goes into theoretical territory. Sebek was born after Briarland had already fallen to its invaders, but he was raised in a community where the war is still living memory. Baul fought to protect his home against those who overran the land, labeled him a monster, and drove them all into a fraction of their former territory. He remembers what Briarland was before, fought to save it, failed, and survived to help put what was left back together. And then his only child married someone who is potentially a direct descendant of the very invaders who had spent years killing anyone who looked like him and destroying everything he'd known, with even his native language possibly disappearing. Sebek says that speakers are somewhat rare in modern day, as the Fae have generally adopted Common, and what he knows of Fae languages is what he was taught by his mother and grandfather. Sebek says, "This has been weighing on me ever since we entered Lilia's dream. That my own father's distant ancestors may very well have been involved in all this too, and Baul isn't the only one with trauma and loss that feels both recent and personal." Sebek was raised within a community of survivors, unlike the humans to whom the wars are ancient history. He says, "You must remember, from Lilia, grandfather, and Malleus's perspectives, the Dawn Knight is not likely someone they consider to belong to the distant past." While not confirmed in-game, it is not too wild to imagine that Sebek has chosen to ally himself with those who survived the invasion rather the invaders, especially when he has been raised to idolize Malleus, whose own mother they killed not very long ago by Fae standards. While humans have been reproducing and dying so fast that the current generation might not know that dragons are real, the same Fae that managed to escape the slaughter are still there, and are now being met with the people born of those who stole their country but to whom there doesn't seem to be much significance to it all beyond a chapter in a history book. And that might all be very well tied up in Sebek's use of human. Not only does it seem to be a speech pattern that Sebek has adopted directly from the grandfather he adores, and from Lilia and Malleus, who are also known to refer to non-Fae as humans, and whom he also idolizes, but it could also be a reminder to himself and to everyone around that he does not approve of the half of himself that tore apart the community he grew up in, lest someone assume that he agrees with the actions of his human ancestors, which would make it a form of self-preservation while growing up in a predominantly Fae area. Sebek's speech patterns and behaviors might be serving as a way for him to assert his loyalty to the Fae, the people whom he admires, identifies with and was raised by, and distance himself from the humans who tried to eradicate them. If Sebek's mother brought his father to Briar Valley from somewhere else, possibly Sunset Savannah, as has been implied, it's possible Sebek's human lineage isn't tied to the invaders at all, but this is still vague. Sebek refers to Sally as Sally, using her name without an honorific, much like Maria. He also chastises Trey for failing to offer his hand to Sally and help her to her feet when she has fallen. Does Sebek have a chivalrous side, not dissimilar to Leona? Memo, must check.